Hey guys, what if I told you this was take two? Because somebody recorded the video a few minutes ago without their microphone on. So yeah, so maybe second time's the charm. So, if I told you this tiny little pod once traveled across continents, was carried by camel caravans, crossed oceans on wooden ships, and was treasured by kings, and is still one of the most expensive spices in the world, would you believe me? This little pod has an incredible story. And so today we're going to meet cardamom, not just as a spice, but as a plant that has shaped history, traveled the world, and quietly earned a place in traditional herbalism. So let's meet the plant, or the pod in this case. So, before we learn anyway, as always, we simply observe. So I want you to look at their little green pods. They don't look very impressive. They're about the size of your fingernail. They're very lightweight, papery in consistency, almost fragile-like. They look fragile-like, but don't let that fool you, because once you crush them and take a deep breath, immediately your senses wake up. It's sweet, it's bright, it's warm. Maybe you notice a citrus scent to it. Maybe to some, it almost has like a mint consistency. Some even compare it to eucalyptus, which I could see that. Everyone smells something a little different when they smell this, and that's one of the beautiful things about aromatic herbs. Everybody's palate's a little different, so everybody's going to appreciate it a little differently, right? So here's something many people don't know. The pod isn't the spice, right? It's that little seed inside, right there, right? And those little seeds contain the fragrant oils that make cardamom so recognizable. The pod, just a container to ship it in. It protects the seeds until they're ready to be used. It's one reason buying whole pods will give you a much fresher flavor than buying the pre-ground cardamom, because they have their own little storage container, as I said. The aromatic compounds won't escape before you use them if you buy them in the pod form. So cardamom is native to lush tropical forests of southern India. So warm temperatures, frequent rain, rich soil, tall trees creating a beautiful filtered sunlight for them, right? That's exactly where cardamom loves to grow. It's not a tree. It isn't a shrub. It's actually considered a leafy tropical plant that grows in clumps, sending up long stems from the ground. So near the base of those plants, delicate flowers appear, and those flowers eventually become the little seed pods, right, that you see in my jar today. Apparently the goose got too close to the porch again. So if you've ever looked at the price of cardamom and wondered, why is this little jar so expensive? Well, here's why. Every pod is picked by hand. Workers get up every morning and walk through the fields over and over and over, because these pods don't all ripen at the same time. They have to choose only the ones that are ready. And if they wait too long, the pod splits open and the seed falls out. And, well, much of the value to it is then lost, right? So after the harvest, the pods are carefully dried, and not too hot, not too fast, right? Just enough to preserve their beautiful green color and the aromatic oils locked inside, right? So they just dry them just enough so they stay closed. So the next time that you buy cardamom, you'll understand you're paying for that tremendous amount of skilled labor, right? They can't just send massive machines out there to harvest it all at once. They're still having to do it very manually, right? So long before airplanes, cardamom was already traveling. Merchants carried it across deserts, loaded it into ships, traded it between kingdoms back when there were kingdoms. If you go to Scotland, there's still places called kingdoms to this day, which makes me giggle. It became one of the world's most valuable spices, and the ancient Egyptians are also believed to enjoy it like almost like a breath mint. The Greeks and Romans prized it for its value in their culture, and throughout India and the Middle East, it just became a part of everyday life, right? So that one tiny pod, one incredible journey is now just kind of far-reaching across the world now. So if you've ever shopped for cardamom, you've noticed that there are two different kinds. There is green cardamom and there is black cardamom. And they're related, but they are not interchangeable. Do not make a chai tea with black cardamom. Green cardamom is sweet and bright and floral. Perfect for teas, desserts, baked goods, herbal preparations. Black cardamom is larger, darker, smokier, almost in flavor, kind of like eating a campfire. And it's usually found in savory dishes and hearty meals, right? So not saying you can't eat it, but if you're looking for a nice tea, you probably don't want campfire tea. So when herbalists are referring to cardamom, they're normally always referring to the green cardamom, not the black cardamom. If they are referring to black cardamom, they're specific about it, right? So I mentioned chai tea, and that cardamom is what gives it its distinct aroma, right? So if you enjoy chai tea, well, you would not enjoy chai tea without cardamom. Cardamom blends beautifully with the cinnamon, clove, ginger, and black tea, creating one of the most beloved spice blends. A lot of people drink it. Not really a fan, even though I like tea. I'll do it from time to time, but it's really not my go-to. So here's something fun you've never really tried before. In the parts of the Middle East, people often add freshly crushed cardamom directly to their coffee. And I have done this one. Not only does it add an incredible aroma, right? But it's also been a traditional way to enjoy cardamom like after meals for generations. You know how you end your meals with coffee in some places. If I do that, I stay up all night. But if you've never tried cardamom coffee, it's worth a try because I have like the pour over, so I'll just crush it on top and then just pour it over it. So where does this whole herbalism story finally come around for those of y'all are tired of hearing about the other stuff? Well, for generations, herbalists have traditionally reached for cardamom after meals, right? It's warm, it's aromatic, it's a favorite herb for supporting comfortable digestion, right? Traditionally, it's been used when someone feels over full, sluggish after eating, or gas and bloating. So you probably want to have some on hand after Thanksgiving. The pleasant aroma is a popular choice for freshening your breath, right? If you want to feel close to the Egyptians, just use that, right? Cardamom is one that reminds us that herbalism is not so separated from everyday life, right? Sometimes the herbs that can help us are really literally at our fingertips. You don't have to make any special trips that's already in your spice cabinet. So buy whole pods whenever you can. Those pods naturally protect the seeds and the aromatic oils, so you're going to get your best experience out of them, right? Once cardamom is ground, it's a wonderful aroma. That wonderful aroma really starts to leave quickly. You're going to want to crush it yourself just before use, and you'll immediately notice the difference, right? And that's a fun experiment too, right? So for your homework on this one, buy whole cardamom if you can afford it. If you've never used it before, I want you to open one pod and look at the tiny seed. I want you to crush it. I want you to smell it. I want you to taste just one. And then make yourself a cup of chai and add a pinch to your morning coffee. And see how you like it. It's fun to try. Sometimes the best way to study the plant is to simply just play with it, right? That's where I remember things, is I just get in there and like, let's see what we can do today. So today we talked about cardamom, the tiny seed with the incredible story and history, the spice that has crossed continents, connected cultures, flavored countless meals, freshened breath, and quietly found its place in a traditional herbal medicine. Every plant has a story. Some stories begin in the forest, some begin in a meadow, and some begin with a tiny green pod that traveled halfway around the world before ending up in your teacup. So until next time, stay rooted, stay curious, and as always, keep growing in grace.